Morning, dear students. Today, I will teach you very important topic of plant kingdom, that is gymnosperm. So, the term gymnosperm was given by Theophrastus. And what do you mean by gymno? So, gymno means naked and sperms means seeds in case of plants. So what do you mean by here naked seeds? So we already know that after fertilization, ovule develop into seed and ovary develop into fruits. So gymnosperms have ovule, right? Ovules are present in gymnosperms. So they are first plant that possess ovule, but they do not have ovary. So ovary is absent, so fruits are absent, right? So gymnosperms are plant in which seeds are not enclosed within fruits. They do not have seed coat. That's the wrong statement. They are not enclosed within fruits. That's why they are gymnosperm. Yes, they do have seed coats. We will study it later. So gymnosperms belong to spermatophytes. So what do you mean by spermatophytes? So I already told you, in plants, sperm means seeds. So plant that bear the seeds, seeds forming plants are known as spermatophytes. So there are two plants that have seeds that can form the seeds, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Another very important line, that is they are phanerogams without ovary. So we divide plants into two parts, cryptogams and phanerogams. So in phanerogams, there are two plants, gymnosperm and angiosperm. So gymnosperm do not have ovary, so they do not form the fruits, and they are the smallest group of plant kingdom. They have very less number of genus and species. What are general characteristic of gymnosperm? So their habitat, uh, they form in colder temperate areas, and few gymnosperms are found in also warmer areas. So when you go to some colder regions, right? So in that region, you will find many cone shaped conifers. So conifers are gymnosperm. Their habit, so they are perennial, they survive for many years. Mostly they cannot be annual and biennial, that we will study later, because that seed formation need more than 2 years. So that's why they are always perennial. They include medium-sized tree, tall woody tree or shrubs, and even some gymnosperm may form woody climber like ephedra. Which plant, which gymnosperm? Ephedra. Ephedra forms woody climber. There is one tallest tree, tallest gymnosperm, that is sequoia, that is also known as redwood tree, and the smallest gymnosperm is Jamia pygmea. The next point, their plant body. So we have earlier we have studied in bryophyte, the main plant body is gametophyte, that is haploid plant body. But from pteridophyte, dominant phase is sporophytic plant body. So what do you mean by sporophyte plant body? They are diploid plant body that will form the spores. So they have true root, stem and leaves. So they are cormophytes. So we already studied in pteridophyte. From pteridophytes, plants will have true root, stems and leaves. So what are these plants known as? They are known as cormophytes. They do have gametophyte because plants show alternation of generation. So after sporophyte, gametophyte will form, but their gametophyte do not have independent existence. So independent existence for both male and female gametophyte is absent. Now, next about their roots. So they have taproot system. So in dicots from angiosperm and in gymnosperm, they have taproot system that arise from radicle. You know what is radicle? We have studied about embryo. So embryo have two parts. These are cotyledon. One part is plumule and another part is radicle. So from radicle, what arise? So from radicle, roots will form. So from embryo, radicle is a part of embryo which give rise to roots. So there they have root branches. So they have dimorphic root branches. So they have dimorphic leaves, they have dimorphic root, they have dimorphic stem that we will study. So they can have normal roots, or the roots are associated with microorganism. So which plants with gymnosperms have roots that are associated with microorganism? So first is given cycas root. So cycas, in cycas there is one blue-green algae. Which blue-green algae? Anabina. So the name of that blue-green algae is Anabina cycadi. That function, its function is nitrogen fixation. So cycas have coralloid root. Which roots, bachcho? Coralloid roots. So these roots can grow in any direction. They are apogeotropic roots, and they have Anabina cycadi, that is blue-green algae that fix the nitrogen. Another very famous plant of gymnosperm is pinus. So in pinus, they have mycorrhizal root. So they have mycorrhizal roots. Their roots are associated with fungi, and root cap and root heads are absent in such roots in which mycorrhiza is present. So what is mycorrhiza? Association of fungi with roots of higher plant, that is known as mycorrhiza, and that structure helps in absorption of water and minerals. So in case of pinus, it is compulsory obligate relationship. If mycorrhizal associations are not found in pinus root, then its growth will be stunted. Next topic is leaves. So gymnosperms have dimorphic leaves. I already told you they have dimorphic roots as well as dimorphic leaves and dimorphic stem. So they have scaly leaves that are non-green leaves. They are sclerenchymatous, and uska function kya hai? Its function is protection. And they have foliage leaves. So what are foliage leaves? That are green in color, and they function their function is photosynthesis. So this foliage leaves are chlorenchymatous. This foliage leaves are what, bacha? Chlorenchymatous. Now they have simple leaf as well as they have compound leaves. So what are simple leaves? They may have some margins, right? But their invagination does not touch the midrib. So they have entire lamina. So simple leaves are present in case of pinus. Pinus have needle-shaped simple leaves. These are very common. And second plant is Ginkgo biloba. So Ginkgo biloba has fan-shaped leaves. And biloba, see, two lobes are there. This is one lobe, and this is another lobe. So in Ginkgo biloba, leaves are fan-shaped, but they are simple leaves. This is very important topic. Pinus leaves can tolerate extreme conditions like wind, temperature, and humidity. So they have needle shape, so that decrease the surface area for preventing the water loss. Another one, their leaf has waxy coating cutin, so that transpiration will be less, and their stomata are different. So they have sunken stomata. What is the word? Sunken. So their stomatas are deeply seated inside the leaf to prevent the water loss. So this is very important topic as point of view, as NEET point of view. So this question has been asked many times. So just you need to remember this, that pinus leaves can tolerate extreme condition due to three reasons. First, they have needle-shaped leaves to decrease the surface area. Second, they have waxy coating, that is coating with cutin. And third, they have sunken stomata. Another type of leaves are compound leaves. So in here, in case of cycas, compound leaves are present. So they have main vein, but lateral veins are absent in these leaves. So for sideway conduction, they have one special tissue, that is transfusion tissue, that is known as hydrosterols. So this transfusion tissue helps sideway water conduction. And why they need transfusion tissue? Because they do not have lateral vein, only they have one main vein, right? So the key points from this page is in gymnosperm, they have dimorphic leaves, scaly leaves for protection, foliage leaves for photosynthesis. They have two type of leaves, simple leaves and compound leaves. In case of simple leaves, there are two examples, Pinus and Ginkgo biloba. In case of compound leaves, there is one example, that is Cycas. Next one, stem. So they have branch stemmed or they have unbranched stem. So branch stems are present in two plants, that is Pinus and Cedrus. Which two plants have branch stem? Pinus and Cedrus, and this is given in NCERT. This is very important. Next one. So in case of branch stem, they have cone-shaped structure. So they are known as conifers. And you have seen this type of plant in many gardens, right? So they are cycas. So see, their stem is unbranched. They have one straight stem. So they have dimorphic stem. They can be branch or they can be unbranched. Next one, vascular tissue. So they are tracheophytes. So which are first tracheophyte? We already know they are pteridophyte. From pteridophyte, through vascular tissue develop, right? So vascular tissue present in gymnosperm, obviously they are tracheophytes. So which three plants are tracheophyte? Pteridophyte, gymnosperm, angiosperm. So they have xylem, they have phloem. Xylem for what? For water conduction. Phloem for what? For food conduction. So in xylem, they do not have xylem vessel or xylem fiber. They have tracheids for water conduction. And in phloem, they do not have sieve tubes and companion cell. Instead, they have sieve cells and phloem fiber. And instead of companion cell, they have which cells? They have albuminous cell. This we have studied in anatomy of flowering plants. Chalo. Next one, woody sporophyll. So this is main point. They are sporophytes. So they bear cones. So these are cones, right? You may have seen this type of cones on conifers. So they have woody sporophyll. So what do you mean by sporophyll? PHYLL. Phyll means leaves. So leaves that bear spores are known as sporophylls. Leaves that bear spores are known as sporophylls. So there are two types of sporophylls here, microsporophyll and megasporophyll. Microsporophyll, this is male sporophyll, right? So their aggregation is known as male cone, pollen cone, male legs or male compact strobili. So this cones or aggregation of sporophylls known as strobili. And megasporophyll, so this is female sporophyll. So their aggregate is known as female cone, seed cone, female legs or female compact strobili. So we know they have cones, right? Cones are known as strobili. So cones are made up of what? They are made up of sporophyll, either microsporophyll or megasporophyll. This sporophyll have sporangium. This sporophyll will have sporangium. Sporangium will form SMC. What is here SMC? Spore mother cell. What will be the SMC? Spore mother cell. So sporangium will form spore mother cell. And spore mother cell can be of two types, microspore mother cell or megaspore mother cell. And these are part of diploid tissue. So they are diploid. By meiosis, microspore mother cell will form microspores and megaspore mother cell will form megaspores. So what will be the ploidy of microspore and megaspore? They are the product of meiosis. So always they will be haploid. Now, microspore will develop into pollen grain. So in gymnosperm and angiosperm, pollen grains develop from which part? Microspore. So it is male gametophyte. So we need to remember that in gymnosperm and angiosperm, male gametophyte means pollen grain. What do you mean by male gametophyte in gymnosperm and angiosperm? It is pollen grain. Then megaspore will form female gametophyte. Here we will know it as female gametophyte only. In angiosperm, we will study that female gametophyte will be embryo sac. But in gymnosperm, embryo sac do not form. That we will be studying in next few minutes. Chalo. Next one, their life cycle. So they have diplontic life cycle. So Gymnosperm and angiosperm both have diplontic life cycle, means their main plant body is sporophyte and their gametophyte is not free living, it is dependent on sporophyte, and they show meiosis. So which meiosis is there? Sporic meiosis to form the spore. So which two type of spores will be formed? Microspores and megaspores. Which condition is there? Homosporous or heterosporous? It is heterosporous. So heterosporous condition first time arise in aquatic pteridophyte and heterospory leads to seed habit. So gymnosperm and angiosperm, all plants are heterosporous. They form microspore, they form megaspores. So we need to remember this. Next one, cones in Pinus. So we will be studying life cycle of Pinus. So in Pinus, Pinus is monoecious plant. Both male and female cones are present on the same plant. So see, this is seed corn, that is female corn, and this is pollen corn, that is male corn. So male corn or strobila is aggregation of microsporophyll and female corn is aggregation of megasporophyll. So male corn generally smaller and they formed earlier, whereas female corn, they are larger and they form later on. So both are present in cluster, but small corns, that is male corns, are each cluster have 15 to 40 cones, whereas female corns are larger, so their cluster is less. So they have cluster of only 2 to 6 cones, and they have two type of shoot. One is dwarf shoot and one is long shoot. So this male cones are formed in place of which shoot? Dwarf shoot, and female cones are formed in place of long shoots. So now, what is the life cycle of gymnosperm? That is Pinus. So Pinus is very famous gymnosperm. I already told you this. They have seed corn, that is female corn. They have pollen corn, that is male corn. That two present on the same plant. So when both the cones are present on the same plant, it is known as monoecious plant. Both sex organs present on the same plant. So this is monoecious plant. So on the same plant, they have male corn or male strobili, that is pollen corn. So it is made up of which sporophylls? Microsporophylls. Right. So these are microsporophylls and they have microsporangium on microsporophylls. So microsporangiums are present on which surface of microsporophyll? Abaxial surface. What do you mean by abaxial? Abaxial have B. B means below. So it is below the sporophyll, right? So it is lower surface. They have microspore mother cell. They have what? Microspore mother cell in microsporangium. Microspore mother cell will be diploid. By its meiosis, it forms microspores, and microspores are haploid. Microspores are haploid. Their nature is haploid. See, after this, there are two successive mitosis. So there will be one cell in which two mitosis will occur. So they will have total 4 nuclei and they will form 4 cells. So their pollen grain have how many cells? Their pollen grain have 4 cells. So their pollen grain is known as male gametophyte. Their pollen grain is known as what, bacha? Male gametophyte. So in case of this pollen grain, there are two prothelial cells. There is one generative cell. We know what is the function of generative cell. It will form the male gamete, and it will form 2 male gamete by mitosis. And there will be one tube cell, and tube cell is also known as vegetative cell. And what is the function of tube cell? It will form the pollen tube. So here, this development, this pollen grain formation occurs in microsporangium, that is mother's place. So it is precocious type of development. Development that occurs in mother's place known as precocious development. Now, they have pollen grain. So their pollen grain have 2 layers. One is intine layer, one is exine layer, and exine layer get converted into wings. So they have winged pollen grain. Pinus have which type of pollen grain? Winged pollen grain. This question has been asked in NEET. So we need to remember winged pollen grains are present in which plant? It is present in Pinus. So there is one wonderful phenomenon that is known as sulfur shower. So when there is a strong wind, right? So in case of that, all winged pollen grain will form cloud, will form dust cloud around or above the surface of that plant, that is known as sulfur shower. So they have winged pollen grain, so but obvious their pollination is via wind. And what is that pollination that occurs via wind known as? It is known as anemophily. Now, so this is about their female corn, that is how their male gametophyte will form. So we can summarize this. They have male corn which is made up of microsporophyll which have microsporangium, and microsporangium will form which cell? It will form microspore mother cell. It will form microspore by meiosis, and microspore after 2 mitosis will form pollen grain. And pollen grain represent male gametophyte in case of gymnosperm and angiosperm. Now, their pollen grain will have 4 cells. Whereas in angiosperm, we will study its pollen grain have 2 or 3 cells. So in as we compare in gymnosperm and gymnosperm will have more cells in case of male gametophyte, that is pollen grain. Pollen grain of Pinus have 2 layers. One is intine, pectocellulosic, and exine layer is converted into wing. So winged pollen grains are present in Pinus, and they show pollination via wind. So it is anemophily. Pollination via wind is known as anemophily. Next one, female corn. So female corn जो है वो क्या होगा? It is known as megasporophyll. It is made up of megasporophyll. Megasporophylls are obviously diploid, and on adaxial, on above surface, they have megasporangium. So we need to remember this. This is very, very, very important, that megasporangium is ovule. Megasporangium is what? Ovule in case of both gymnosperms and angiosperm. But this ovule is naked in case of gymnosperm because ovary is absent. So what will be the structure of ovule? What is the structure of ovule? So here ovule have one integument. Ovule will have one integument. So integument is the protective covering of ovule. So integument is single, so it is unitegmic ovule. It is known as what? Unitegmic ovule. But it have 3 layers: outer layer, middle layer, inner layer. So middle layer is thick, outer and inner layers are thin. So integument enclose what? So it enclose nutritive tissue of ovule, that is nucellus. What is nutritive tissue of ovule known as? Nucellus. This nucellus is made up of parenchymatous cells, and it is nutritive tissue of ovule. So one cell of this nucellus will form MMC. What will be the MMC in this case? It will be megaspore mother cell. It will be what? Megaspore mother cell, because this is part of female sex organ. MMC after meiosis will form megaspores. How many megaspore will be formed? From one meiosis, there will be 4 megaspore. Here, 3 megaspore will get degenerate. They are from chalazial micropyline. One will remain the functional. Here, at this region, integuments are absent. So the region where of ovule where integuments are absent is known as micropyle, and the opposite basal end of ovule is known as chalazial end. But here bending of ovule is not there, so it is orthotropous type of ovule. Which type of ovule, bacha? Orthotropous. Next one, nucellus. This I already told you. Nucellus will form MMC. MMC it is megaspore mother cell. By meiosis, it can form 4 megaspore. 3 at micropyle and degenerate. 1 will remain functional. Now we need to study what this functional megaspore will form. So megaspore is haploid. That is very clear to us, right? So by mitosis, this megaspore will form female gametophyte. So functional megaspore will be converted into female gametophyte, And after for their division, they need nutrition. So they will gain the nutrition from nucellus. So by utilizing nucellus, they will develop female gametophyte. By utilizing nucellus, they will form female gametophyte, that is multicellular. They have sticky material over micropyle end, that is known as pollen droplet, that will attract the pollen grain. So here pollen grain directly come to the ovule for pollination. We have studied that in gymnosperm. Pollen grain lands on which part? Stigma. But here, as ovary is not there, stigma style is not there, so pollen grain will directly land on the micropylar region at pollen droplet site. Pollen grain led directly, so this is direct pollination, and after that droplet will dry and pollen grain develop pollen tube. So this is development of pollen tube, but this is very slow process. It will require 13 months to form the pollen tube, right? And generative cell will have two male gamete. Here also generative cell will divide by mitosis. It will form two male gamete, and these male gametes of gymnosperm and angiosperms are non-motile. Now, here in this case, double fertilization do not occur. So one male gamete will get degenerated and another male gamete will fuse with the egg, and this process is known as syngamy. And zygote will be formed. Zygote will be converted into embryo, and embryo will form sporophyte. So from gametophyte, sporophyte will be generated, right? And these are okay. In female gametophyte, there can be 2 to 8 archegonium. So first archegonium is female sex organ. So first archegonium appears in bryophyte. It is also present in pteridophyte, and it is also present in gymnosperm. So there are 3 divisions, plant division, where archegonium is present: bryophyte, pteridophyte, and gymnosperm. So these have archegonium. So they are archegoniated spermatophyte. They are known as what? Archegoniated spermatophytes. Whereas in case of angiosperm, archegonium is absent, right? So we need to remember, if question is there that is archegoniated spermatophyte, then it will be gymnosperm, right? Next one. So this type of here male gamete will go to the female gamete that is present in archegonium via pollen tube. So this type of transfer of male gamete, this type of transfer of male gamete is known as siphonogamy. Siphon means tube. So transfer of non-motile male gamete to female gamete via pollen tube. So here ovule will be converted into seed after fertilization. Integuments will be converted into seed coat. So see, I have told you that in gymnosperm, what do you mean by naked seed? Their seeds are not enclosed within fruit, but they do have seed coat. Their nucellus will get used up, right? But sometime nucellus persist after seed formation, so that unused persistent remnant nucellus is known as perisperm. So this is very important topic. So perisperm, what will be the ploidy of perisperm? Obviously, it will be diploid because it is part of nucellus, that is unused nucellus, right? And after fertilization, female gametophyte that formed will be converted into endosperm. So what will be the ploidy level of endosperm in case of gymnosperm? It will be haploid. This we need to remember. And here, this endosperm formed before fertilization. See, female gametophyte developed before fertilization, right? And that female gametophyte will be known as endosperm after fertilization, right? So their female gametophyte will be converted into endosperm. So what will be the ploidy level of endosperm in gymnosperm? It will be always haploid. So we need to remember here, post-fertilization changes, zygote will be converted into embryo. So during embryogenesis, we will study this, that zygote will divide into 2 parts. One cell will be suspensor cell, another will be embryonic cell. So from suspensor cell, suspensor will form that will attach embryo to the ovule, and embryonic cell will be converted into embryo. So here entire zygote will not get converted into embryo. So it is meroblastic embryogenesis, and the direction is inside the ovule due to suspensor. So it is endoscopic embryogenesis. Their ovule will get converted into seed, integument will get converted into seed coat. So there were 3 layers in integument. So outer layer, that is that will be converted into wing. Middle layer will form testa. What is testa? Outer seed coat. Inner integument will form tegment, that is inner seed coat. Now what will be the fate of nucellus? So I already told you, it will get used up, and it is not you. If it is not used up, it will persist, and that persistent nucellus is known as perisperm. So sperm means seed. So it is present in periphery of sperm. So it is perisperm. Female gametophyte represent endosperm of the seed, and endosperm formed before fertilization. This we have studied in last page. Next topic. There are 3 generations in gymnosperm seed. Gymnosperm seed have how many generations? It have 3 generations. So they have seed coat, they have perisperm, they have wings. So seed coat, perisperm, wings. Seed coats are from integument, perisperm, nucellus, and wings from outer layer of integument. So these are part of parent sporophyte. They have endosperm. Endosperm is what? Female gametophyte. So this is first generation, this is second generation, and they have embryo. Embryo is future sporophyte. So this is third generation, right? So they have parent sporophyte tissues, they have female gametophyte, and they have future sporophyte. So we can say this, that they have 3 generations. Gymnosperm seeds have how many generations? 3 generations. So there are now we have studied entire process, how gymnosperm produce seeds, what is gametophyte, what is sporophyte, right? So whenever we see the gymnosperm, you need to remember that whatever you are watching or seeing, that is their sporophyte. They have root, diploid, that is sporophyte. They have stem, diploid, sporophyte, leaves, diploid, sporophyte. They have microsporophyll, that is aggregated in the cone, male cone, that is also diploid. Their microspore mother cell will be diploid. Their megasporophyll will be diploid. Megaspore mother cell will be diploid. Pollen grain will be haploid because it is female gametophyte. See, pollen tube cell will be haploid, right? Pollen tube cell will be haploid because it is part of pollen grain. Gametophyte, generative cell will be haploid. Obviously, male gametes are haploid. Male gametophyte, what do you mean by male gametophyte in gymnosperm? It is pollen grain. So again, it is haploid. Nucellus is the part of ovule. Ovule means megasporangium. It is diploid. They have perisperm, that is diploid. Endosperm, haploid. Because endosperm is endosperm formed from female gametophyte. They have integuments, that is diploid. It is part of ovule. Wings of seeds will be diploid. It is also part of integument. Testa will be diploid, tegment will be diploid, and obviously zygote will be diploid. So this is all about gymnosperm. So what is given in NCERT? So in NCERT, you will find this on page number 38. So gymnosperm, all we have covered here. Main parts: redwood tree sequoia, that is the giant gymnosperm, tallest tree. Then they have taproot, they have fungal association in case of Pinus mycorrhiza, and Cycas coralloid root, and Abina cycadi, right? Then unbranched stem will be Cycas, and branched stem Cedrus and Pinus. Cycas have pinnate leaves, and Pinus and Ginkgo biloba have simple leaves. They are known as conifers, and they have needle-like leaves. So here that topic is there. So their leaves withstand extreme temperature, humidity, and wind, right? So they have needle leaves to reduce surface area. Second point was thick cuticle, and third point was sunken stomata. Here they have heterosporous condition. Gymnosperm and angiosperm both have heterosporous condition. They form megaspore and they form microspore. So here the structure of cone, how they are formed is given. One important point is there. Here they have written in cycas. male cones are there, but in cycas, female cones are absent. They have scattered megasporophyll. They have what? Scattered megasporophyll. And here the structure of ovule is given. So ovule is megasporangium, and in ovule, the ovules will be present on megasporophyll, and megasporo will form the female cones. And in megasporangium, there will be formation of archegonium. So these are archegoniated spermatophyte. And how many archegonium? 2 to 8. So they have written 2 or more archegonium, right? And unlike bryophyte, pteridophyte, gymnosperms, the male and female gametophyte do not have independent free living existence. So this is case of both gymnosperm and angiosperm. Their gametophyte do not have free living existence. So their life cycle is diplontic life cycle, and they retain within the sporangia, retain on the sporophyte. So they disperse their uh, pollen grain via air current. So they show anemophily. Which type of pollination they show? They show anemophily. And zygote develop into embryo and ovule develop into seeds, but they are not covered by fruits. So we need to see this diagrams too. This diagram given is of cycas that have unbranched stem. This is pinus. You have seen this plant many types. Cycas and pinus are very common gymnosperm. And another diagram here it is given is fan-shaped leaves present, that is present in which plant? Ginkgo biloba. So Ginkgo biloba also have two type of shoot, dwarf shoot, long shoot, and they also form the seeds, right? So this is all about gymnosperm. In next class, we will study about angiosperms. Thank you so much.